The power of letting go, embracing indifference and rising above Stoicism. It's time to rethink the concept of letting go. Often, we assume that releasing our grip on something or someone is about moving on, but the truth is, it's about rising above. When you let go, you're not doing it to escape the pain or the memories, you're doing it to elevate yourself to a new level of understanding and growth. The people who may have hurt or wronged you might seem unbothered by your decision, but deep down, they feel the weight of your absence. The silence that follows can be deafening, and it's in those quiet moments that they're forced to confront the reality of their actions. This isn't about playing games or pretending not to care, it's about taking a stand and walking away with your head held high. You're not letting go to heal them or to make them realize their mistakes, you're doing it so they can feel the impact of their behavior. When you're constantly showing up for someone, they can take you for granted, but when you're gone, they're left to face the emptiness they've created. It's a hard lesson to learn, but it's one that can lead to growth and change. You see, people often don't change when they're comfortable, they change when they're forced to confront their own shortcomings. And that's exactly what happens when you take away the one thing they've grown accustomed to, your presence. You were their constant, their rock, and when you're gone, they're left to pick up the pieces and wonder what they did wrong. It's not about seeking revenge or closure, it's about becoming the lesson they need to learn. Your absence can be a powerful tool for growth, not just for them, but for you as well. So, don't be afraid to walk away, to let go, and to rise above. Remember, you're not doing it to escape the pain, you're doing it to become the person you were meant to be. And when you do, you'll find that the silence speaks louder than any words ever could. Once, you were the source of warmth they always craved, the friendly voice that checked in just when it was needed, and the gentle soul that managed to stay kind even when others grew cold. And now, suddenly, you're no longer there. There was no dramatic farewell, no pleading or overblown explanations, just a calm, almost surgical detachment that leaves them more shaken than any fierce argument ever could. This is the art of moving on with grace. It's not about throwing a tantrum or feeling the need to prove your worth through endless words, rather, it's about making the decisive choice to step away, not from weakness but because you recognized a truth that they still haven't grasped. You were their ultimate reward. Your presence was a rare privilege, and the energy you brought was an incomparable gift. By choosing to withdraw that gift, you leave them to face an emotional drought of their own making. Imagine a lush garden that perpetually bloomed, filled with vibrant colors and meticulously cared for by you. Every flower symbolized hope, every petal a sign of care. Yet, they walked through this garden with muddy shoes, trampling the blossoms as if they were disposable, plucking petals with the thought that nature would endlessly replace them. Then, one day, the garden vanished entirely, no more flourishing flowers, no more vibrant life, no more you. Now, they wander through a stark, lifeless concrete world, baffled by why nothing ever seems to evoke a spark of life anymore. This emptiness they feel is a powerful lesson for everyone. Don't fall for the illusion that you can take your blessings for granted. Recognize your own worth, and understand that some rewards simply must be cherished and never treated as disposable. Let's dive into this. They'll share updates as if they're over the moon, laughing a bit too hard, putting on a show of being healed and unbothered. But let me tell you something important. The more they insist on appearing fine, the more they're shattering inside. You see, the act of letting go with a cold shoulder isn't messy. It's precise, like surgery. It leaves no trace behind, just a lingering echo. An echo of all the joy and pain you once brought into their life. And that echo? It's relentless. It tags along in every room they enter, every chat they have, every new bond they try to form that just doesn't compare to what you two had. And no, this isn't about making them suffer. It's about teaching them a lesson, letting them grapple with the consequences of their actions, making them understand that you weren't the problem. They were just too careless. Now that you're out of the picture, they're finally getting a taste of what it feels like to lose something truly valuable. This realization doesn't hit them all at once. It's a slow burn, but it stings. And eventually, it brings them to their knees. That's when they come crawling back, not because you pleaded with them, but because you didn't. So, let's say it together, loud and clear, right here in the comments. Embrace the power of letting go and rising above. Type it out, own it, and claim it, because your decision to walk away wasn't a sign of weakness. You left because you knew your worth. Now, they finally recognize it too. If this resonates with you, smash that like button. Hit subscribe, because we're just getting started. Stay with me as we dive into the myth of moving on and why their smile isn't a sign of peace, but rather, panic. Let's begin with the myth of moving on and how fake happiness becomes their armor. People tend to display the loudest joy when they're overwhelmed with regret. In a world where everyone is putting on a show, acting fine, and posting filtered highlights to hide their fears, you and I know the truth. Those who appear to move on quickly are often the ones hurting the most. They're not happy, they're haunted. The more they pretend, the clearer it becomes that they're running from something they don't want to confront. Think about yourself for a moment, the way they spoke to you, the choices they made, and the priceless things they lost when you stepped away. Now, let's clear up a common misconception, the so-called myth of moving on. It's one of the biggest stories people buy and resell without a second thought. Here's how the myth usually sounds: if someone suddenly has a dramatic glow-up, they must be fully healed. If they jump into a brand new relationship right away, that rebound must mean they have upgraded their life. If they go radio silent, that quietness must equal inner peace. Sounds convincing, right? But genuine recovery doesn't need a spotlight, and real serenity never begs for applause. When a person truly lets go, you rarely hear a word. They quietly excuse themselves from the chaos, no grand finale, no highlight reel, no subtle digs on social media. Conversely, when someone starts posting non-stop, laughing a little too loudly in public stories, or flexing every tiny success the moment you're out of the picture, that isn't healing, that's hiding. It's a smokescreen meant to distract both you and them from the wounds they haven't faced. Picture it like this: someone staggers across a battlefield with raw, open injuries. Instead of slowing down to clean and bandage the cuts, they whip out a can of shiny gold spray paint and coat the bleeding areas. From far away, they look flawless, almost polished, even enviable. Walk a few steps closer, though, and you'll see the blood seeping through that thin metallic layer. The shimmer is just camouflage, and underneath it, they're still hurting. Real growth is quiet, steady, and often invisible to outsiders. It doesn't need gold paint, loud laughter, or curated posts, only time, reflection, and honest self-care. This is what it looks like when someone pretends to have moved on. It's like putting a pretty cover over something that's still broken. It prioritizes showmanship over genuine tranquility. And this act of performance isn't really for anyone else, it's primarily for you. They seek your attention and your reaction, fully aware that your silence is observant. Your lack of response isn't merely an absence, it serves as a reflection. It reflects the decisions they made, the opportunities they let slip away, and the tenderness they failed to appreciate. Believe me, no one gazes into that reflection for too long with a smile. I understand the thoughts that may swirl in your mind when you see them seemingly thriving. You might wonder if they were ever truly hurt. Did they manage to move on more swiftly because I didn't hold significance for them? Was I the only one who genuinely cared? These feelings are completely normal. They stem from the part of you that invested deeply in the relationship, but they also arise from a place of fear, from a mindset that hasn't fully embraced its own strength. When someone loses you and tries to cover their pain with a facade of celebration, it's not a sign of emotional detachment, rather, it's a form of desperation cleverly disguised. Let's face a difficult reality, my friends. Their seemingly impressive transformation isn't really about you at all. It's more about their attempt to reassure themselves that they are fine without your presence. This is akin to applying a band-aid to a serious injury. They are avoiding the painful truth of their actions. They are reluctant to confront the regret that lingers within them. Instead, they seek out distractions, new acquaintances, different environments, loud music, and fleeting moments of joy. However, when the day winds down and the distractions fade away, that's when the absence of you becomes painfully evident. In those quiet moments, your silence seeps into their thoughts like a catchy tune they can't turn off. As Marcus Aurelius wisely stated, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. You, on the other hand, have elevated your mindset. You've opted for tranquility over trivial matters. You didn't feel the need to showcase your life or prove anything to anyone. Instead, you took a step back, allowing them to take the spotlight while you focused on nurturing your own spirit behind the scenes. This is not a sign of weakness, it is a demonstration of emotional strength and mastery. It reflects a Stoic resilience. Yes, it will be challenging. It will sting to witness them smiling alongside someone new or acting as if your shared experiences never took place. Let me share something important with you. They hold on to every moment of joy, every glance exchanged, and every deep conversation shared during those late nights. All of these memories are kept in places within them that cannot be erased. They haven't truly moved on, rather, they are putting on an act. The reason you find it so challenging to accept their apparent happiness is that you offered something genuine. And genuine feelings do not fade quickly. You showed care without any pretense. You loved unconditionally. Now that they have swapped genuine presence for mere performance, it's easy to feel as though you were the one who was foolish. But that is not the case. You represented authenticity in a world filled with superficial games. The ones who are truly real leave a deeper impact when they depart. When you leave, you create a void, not just a minor mark. Let me paint another picture for you. Imagine a flame, steady, warm, and reliable. That was your essence. However, they became accustomed to it, mistakenly believing it would always be there. They departed in search of spectacles, something boisterous, dynamic, and fleeting. What they failed to realize, however, is this fundamental truth: spectacular displays are inherently transient. Fireworks illuminate the darkness briefly before vanishing, leaving nothing but wisps of smoke in their wake. A consistent flame, by contrast, endures. It grows steadily. It evolves into the very warmth they desperately attempt to duplicate but can never truly match. Now that your passion has diminished, now that your inner light has extinguished, they find themselves endlessly pursuing momentary sparks that inevitably fade. Don't be deceived by the dazzling performance, my friends. Avoid becoming entrapped in the deception. They aren't experiencing joy, they're being pursued by memories. They're haunted by recollections of someone who offered everything and departed with nothing except quietude. They're haunted by your elegance, your serenity, your resolution to neither plead, nor respond, nor pursue. You became indelible in their memory not through creating commotion but through withdrawing with self-respect. And believe me when I say this, your detachment resonates as the most powerful sound in their existence currently. Each time they check their phone and your name is absent, each time they share something hoping for your acknowledgement, each time they force laughter to drown out the resonance of what they've surrendered, that's your triumph. That's how you linger in their consciousness. Embracing a powerful mindset is not about hatred or playing games, it's about an unbothered, confident state of mind. So, go ahead and share your thoughts in the comments. Indifference is a powerful tool. Speak it aloud, with pride. It's time to reveal your true self to the world. When you stop seeking validation or trying to prove your worth, you allow others to discover it for themselves. And that's why I invite you to continue this journey with me, as we explore the true essence of indifference. It's not about being cold or cruel, it's about clarity and a sense of calm. You'll soon realize that letting go doesn't make you heartless, it makes you invincible. Let's continue this exploration. Emotional indifference is not a sign of apathy, it's a sign of growth and self-awareness. You're not cold, you've simply found your balance and inner peace. This concept might take some time to sink in, but it's a powerful realization. Many of you have been labeled as heartless or distant simply because you chose to stop justifying your actions or explaining yourself. You opted for silence and clarity over the chaos of constant explanations. But let's set the record straight: emotional indifference is a choice, and it's a powerful one. You haven't stopped caring, rather, you've ceased to feel the pain as intensely. This transformation is not a sign of indifference; instead, it represents a significant elevation in your emotional state. It signifies that you have reached a point where your inner peace is no longer something to be compromised. Your feelings are not something to be bartered with. Emotional detachment does not mean you are shutting down your feelings; it means you are advancing to a higher level of emotional awareness. This shift occurs after you've experienced enough heartache, pleaded for understanding, and exhausted every effort to explain your feelings, only to come to the realization that no amount of emotional investment can penetrate the walls of someone who is emotionally unavailable. At this juncture, you break free from mere survival instincts. You stop striving to prove your worth and instead recognize that you are inherently enough just as you are. In that pivotal moment, when your silence resonates more profoundly than any sorrow you have expressed, that is your ascension. This embodies the essence of Stoic strength. It is not about pretending that you are unaffected by pain. Stoicism does not equate to emotional numbness. Rather, it is about cultivating emotional discipline. It involves acknowledging your feelings without allowing them to dictate your actions or lower your standards. You refuse to be pulled back into the destructive patterns that once caused you pain. Instead, you learn to sit with your emotions, accepting them without letting them control your life. Imagine navigating through a turbulent storm, yet still managing to move with poise and elegance. This isn't about being unfeeling or aloof; it's actually a sign of remarkable self-control. It's not that you're indifferent to love or the people around you, but rather, you're choosing to rise above the disrespect and chaos that others may bring into your life. To illustrate this concept, consider a powerful metaphor. Envision yourself as a sturdy mountain, standing tall and unwavering. The storm may rage on, with howling winds, relentless rain, and deafening thunder, but the mountain remains steadfast, unshaken by the turmoil. It doesn't chase after the fleeting weather patterns or allow itself to be swayed by the whims of the storm. Similarly, you can remain centered and grounded, even when those around you are being hot and cold, unpredictable, or emotionally volatile. This isn't because you don't care about them or their feelings; it's because you prioritize your own well-being and emotional safety above the chaos they may bring into your life. Now, it's likely that they'll try to test your resolve, to poke and provoke you, to see how you'll react. But you can choose to stand firm, like the mountain, unshakable and strong. By doing so, you're not being cold or unfeeling; you're simply choosing to maintain your dignity and self-respect, even in the face of adversity. This is a powerful stance to take, one that requires a deep understanding of yourself and your values. By embracing this mindset, you can navigate even the most challenging storms with grace, poise, and a sense of inner peace. They will test you. They will say things just to provoke a response from you. Perhaps they will post something insignificant or send you a half-hearted message, craving a reaction. This is because your reaction fuels them and gives them a sense of control. Now that you have gone silent and your energy is no longer available, they feel the absence and it unsettles them. Do not misunderstand: when you cease to react, it does not mean they have stopped caring. Instead, it means they have begun to wonder. They wonder if you have moved on, why you are not pursuing them, and how someone they once controlled has become unreachable. Let me share something genuine with you: that wondering is your strength. The confusion they experience is a result of your personal growth. When people can no longer provoke you, they lose access to the version of you they could manipulate. What unsettles them the most is seeing you thrive on your own. Suddenly, they accuse you of becoming distant, of turning cold or different. But here's the reality: they've never encountered this side of you before. They're only familiar with the version of you who always explained yourself, who waited around, and constantly made sacrifices to keep the peace. This evolved version of you, the one who's found balance, doesn't get rattled easily. This you doesn't entertain pointless arguments or compromise your well-being for others' comfort. Instead, you've established boundaries, shaped by hard-earned lessons, and your peace is now protected by choosing silence over unnecessary conflict. Admittedly, this new approach might feel uncomfortable at first. Society often teaches us that love is shown by always reacting, always responding, that caring about someone means being perpetually involved in their drama. However, something that's rarely discussed is that true love can also mean stepping away when respect is no longer present. Real love is sometimes expressed through quiet detachment when words would only be wasted. Genuine strength doesn't show itself by holding on at all costs. Instead, it emerges when you can let go gracefully, without demanding closure or explanations. So, if you're navigating this chapter, perhaps being misunderstood, or unfairly accused of being unfeeling simply because you've stopped fixing problems that aren't yours, you're not isolated in this. What you're experiencing is personal growth. You're moving into a stage of emotional maturity that not everyone will understand or be able to match. And that's perfectly okay. Remember, growing isn't always comfortable or universally accepted, but it's a necessary part of learning to honor yourself. Your purpose here isn't to seek validation from others, rather, it's to find harmony within yourself. The philosopher Marcus Aurelius wisely stated, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." This encapsulates the essence of the self-discipline you are beginning to embrace. Remember, you are not obligated to respond to anyone's expectations, nor do you have to share your vulnerability with those who haven't earned your trust. It is entirely possible to care for someone while also establishing boundaries. You can express love and still choose to walk away, for your silence carries significant weight and meaning. So, I invite you to join me in the comments below and declare, "I'm not cold, I'm calibrated." Go ahead, type it out, take ownership of your feelings, and reveal your true self to the world. When you learn to master your emotions, transitioning from mere reactions to thoughtful responses, and when you stop feeling the need to prove your worth, that is when others will truly recognize your value. If this message resonates with you and has sparked something within, don't hesitate to hit that like button. And make sure to subscribe, as we have much more to explore together. Stay with me, dear friends, as we delve into the tumultuous realm of energy shifts. It's fascinating to observe that the moment you begin to withdraw your energy, those around you become acutely aware of everything you have ceased to provide. Let's continue our exploration. Now, let's discuss the third point, the principle of energetic balance. When you decide to pull back, those affected experience a sense of emptiness. You haven't simply vanished, rather, you've created a void, and they often dislike what has filled that space. Take a moment to reflect on this idea. Allow it to penetrate through the distractions around you. This situation isn't merely about your absence, it's about them finally recognizing your presence by experiencing your absence. You didn't disappear into thin air. No, my friends, your withdrawal was a deliberate act aimed at restoring balance in the energy exchange. The instant you stepped back, that shift impacted them more profoundly than any argument could. It wasn't due to raised voices or slamming doors, it was because you chose to stop investing your energy into someone who never bothered to check if your emotional reservoir was full. Here's a crucial point that often goes unmentioned: energy functions as a form of currency, emotional currency, to be precise. You were spending it lavishly, akin to a millionaire, in a relationship that continuously drained your peace and well-being. Devotion, compassion, availability, gentleness, undivided presence, you provided these gifts faithfully and without strings attached. While others absorbed the radiance of your care, you maintained the flame even as they grew accustomed to its glow. Now that you've stepped back, the absence of your warmth creates a noticeable void. They sense it gradually, not through dramatic gestures, but in quiet moments where your nurturing essence once filled the space. Let me illustrate this dynamic through metaphor, as imagery often conveys truth more powerfully than abstract statements. Picture a bustling gathering filled with chatter, jokes, and lively interaction. Amid this commotion, no one acknowledges the low, consistent hum of climate control systems, until they suddenly shut off. The abrupt silence becomes deafening not because the sound was intrusive, but because its disappearance alters the environment's fundamental character. This parallels your role as the emotional atmosphere others unconsciously relied upon, the steady background presence that made their comfort possible. When you withdrew this sustaining energy, the relational ecosystem changed. This demonstrates the principle of energetic equilibrium. When individuals consistently receive without returning value, they gradually lose appreciation. They begin assuming your generosity is inherent rather than intentional, like expecting sunlight without gratitude for the sun. Just as plants lean toward light sources without conscious awareness, people often orient toward consistent care until the source shifts. The challenge lies not in their initial oversight, but in the awakening that follows withdrawal, the realization that comfort requires conscious maintenance, not passive consumption. Have you ever found yourself taking a step back in a relationship, not out of malice, but as a necessary act of self-preservation? This recalibration can have a profound effect on the other party, forcing them to confront the emotional weight they've been neglecting. It's at this juncture that discomfort begins to simmer. Our minds are inherently averse to imbalance, as psychological principles highlight our instinctual pursuit of equilibrium. When a significant emotional shift occurs, the brain rapidly seeks to restore balance. By ceasing to initiate interactions, refraining from excessive checking in, and withdrawing overextensions, you create a palpable void in the other person's life. This silence is particularly unsettling because, unbeknownst to them, you were the linchpin of the connection, the unseen glue, anchor, and emotional pulse that, though unappreciated, was always relied upon. I'm aware of the trepidation that often accompanies this decision. Fears may creep in, whispering, what if my absence is met with indifference? What if they welcome the space? What if my withdrawal goes entirely unnoticed? These doubts stem from the part of you still on the path to healing, yearning for validation that your efforts were, indeed, seen and valued. Here's a reassuring truth: they have taken notice. Even if pride prevents them from acknowledging it, even if their ego loudly proclaims otherwise, and even if they seek solace in someone else's company, the impact of your absence has registered. Consider it this way: just as nature abhors a vacuum, the human emotional landscape reacts to the sudden absence of a vital connection. The response may not always be immediate or overt, but rest assured, the awareness is there, simmering beneath the surface. Energetic changes leave a lasting impact. When you withdraw from someone's life, it prompts them to reflect not only on you but also on their own feelings. They may start to wonder why they suddenly feel an emptiness inside. They might question why the attention they receive from others doesn't resonate in the same way. Your absence creates a silence that contrasts sharply with the confidence they once felt. In that moment, they come to the realization that you were the emotional anchor in their life, the one who provided stability, excitement, and a sense of grounding. You had a unique ability to make them feel acknowledged, and now they find themselves surrounded by a cacophony of noise that fails to understand them as your quiet presence did. This discomfort and longing they experience is the consequence of an imbalance that has finally caught up with them. As Marcus Aurelius wisely stated, the universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it. When you chose to step back, you initiated a transformation that affected not only yourself but also the other person. Their thoughts are racing to catch up with this new reality. They find themselves replaying past conversations, revisiting old messages, and reflecting on the version of themselves that thrived in your company. This is what people often miss the most, not just the individual you are, but the enhanced version of themselves that flourished when you were present. Indeed, it can be painful to be the one who invested so much emotionally, only to walk away knowing that they may never fully acknowledge the significance you held in their life. However, this situation reveals your strength. You didn't simply vanish, you created a space for reflection. You allowed the emptiness to convey the truths you had grown weary of expressing. Allow the imbalance to come to light. So, take a moment to express this in the comments right now. I have created space. They have sensed the change. Speak it boldly. Own it with pride. Present yourself to the world. The instant you cease to overextend yourself is the very moment they begin to overanalyze the situation. This is where balance is found. This is where true power lies. If this resonates with you on a deep level, go ahead and smash that like button. Don't forget to subscribe, because next, we will explore what occurs when they attempt to fill the void you've created with someone else, only to discover that what is genuine cannot be substituted. Stick with me as we delve deeper into this topic. Now, let's discuss the fourth point, the illusion of replacement. Understand why no one can truly replicate what you have been. They may mimic your actions, but they cannot capture the essence of your meaning. Let that thought resonate within you, my friends, because eventually, they will attempt to do just that. They will attempt to find a substitute for you. They'll try to conceal the void and suppress the lingering memories. You'll notice unfamiliar faces, new names, and fresh smiles prominently featured in their narratives, as if nothing significant has changed. However, it's crucial not to react impulsively, not to become overwhelmed, and not to be deceived by their display. What they are doing is not about healing, it's about concealing. They are not seeking inner peace, they are chasing the closeness to the emotions you evoked in them. But here's the reality, they will never explicitly state, you weren't a role they could easily replace. You were a unique presence they can't replicate. Let's break this down clearly. New relationships after a breakup are like emotional numbing agents. They don't eliminate the pain, they merely dull it temporarily. And like all numbing agents, the effect fades quickly. These new connections are not about genuine love, they are about seeking an escape. They are not about building something meaningful or lasting. The essence of their actions revolves around distraction. It's not merely about finding someone new to fill a void, rather, it's about seeking a new companion who can help them forget the person who truly made an impact on their life. And you, my dear friend, were not just another individual in their life. You were the foundation of their emotional landscape. You infused their existence with depth, meaning, and a sense of calm. Your presence was not just about being there, it was about being purposeful. The way you listened intently, the way you grasped their feelings, and the way your mere presence could transform an entire day without uttering a single word, this is the kind of influence that cannot simply be replaced. It lingers in memory. Picture a radio attempting to connect to a frequency that has vanished. What remains is a jumble of static and fleeting sounds. This is the reality they are facing now. You were the frequency that harmonized their world. In your absence, every conversation, every outing, and every new experience feels slightly off, lacking the vibrancy it once had, and feels somewhat hollow. They might put on a smile, but it won't resonate with their spirit in the same way. They may find moments of laughter, yet they will realize that it doesn't reverberate like it used to. You were not just a source of amusement, you were the alignment that brought everything together. But I can already sense your thoughts. Have you ever wondered why, when you feel irreplaceable, people seem to move on so quickly? Why don't they fight harder to keep you around? Why is there often silence when you decide to leave? The truth, though it might sting, is that people often don't fully appreciate what they have until they try to replicate it and fail. They might appear to have moved on, but in reality, they're just moving around. There's a significant difference between these two actions. Moving on implies growth and closure, whereas moving around is more about restlessness and a search for something that feels familiar. Let's delve a bit into psychology to understand this better. Our brains are wired to seek out familiarity. When someone loses something or someone meaningful, their initial reaction isn't to embrace solitude and reflect. Instead, they instinctively look to fill the void with something or someone that can recreate the comfort they once knew. But here's the catch, they can mimic the surface-level aspects, your mannerisms, your way of speaking, even your routines, but they can't replicate your unique energy. For someone accustomed to deep, meaningful connections, superficial interactions can feel hollow and unfulfilling. Consider the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, who once said, "Very little is needed to make a happy life." This reminds us that true happiness and fulfillment come from genuine connections, not from mere replicas of what once was. So, the next time you find yourself questioning your worth, remember that the ease with which others seem to move on says more about them than it does about you. Your essence is irreplaceable, and true connections are built on a foundation that no one else can replicate. The truth resides entirely within your own being, a lesson you've mastered that others continue to misunderstand. While you've discovered inner wholeness, those around you still seek externally for what they've lost internally. This absence isn't merely about your presence, but rather the profound sense of stability and recognition you provided. You became the mirror reflecting their highest potential, the version of themselves that felt secure, truly visible, and deeply comprehended. Without this reflective surface, they're left confronting hollow imitations of reality. You'll witness their compensatory efforts, carefully curated social media personas, veiled criticisms disguised as humor, and elliptical posts designed to elicit your reaction. Authentic healing requires no audience, true contentment whispers rather than shouts. When someone feels compelled to demonstrate their recovery, they're often revealing vulnerability masquerading as strength. The irony deepens as they temporarily believe their own performance, until reality surfaces in quiet moments. New relationships may falter when confronted with their unspoken emotional layers, conversations where you would have intuitively understood the pauses and shadows. They might find themselves laughing with others while unexpectedly hearing echoes of your distinctive joy in their memory. This persistent resonance isn't fixation, it's the inevitable reckoning with connections that fundamentally reshape our emotional landscape, leaving lasting impressions no replacement can erase. This is your emotional legacy. You continue to resonate, still occupying meaningful space in environments they've attempted to fill with unfamiliar faces. Rest assured, you don't require replacement. There's no need for competition. You have nothing to demonstrate because your significance cannot be duplicated. Your fundamental nature cannot be altered or revised. Your contribution wasn't merely fashionable, it was eternal. I encourage you to affirm this truth in the comments section right now. I am irreplaceable. Declare it confidently. Proclaim it with pride. Reveal your authentic self. Let the world witness your value. You weren't simply one chapter in their story, they're now struggling through passages that lack coherence without your influence. If this message has reminded you of your inherent value, please show your appreciation by liking this content. Consider subscribing as well, because our next discussion explores one of life's most profound realities, why emotional detachment impacts more severely than any farewell, and how your chosen silence represents the one void they'll perpetually struggle to fill. Continue following this journey with me. Let's continue to elevate ourselves. Moving on to point number 5, why does indifference often hurt more than anger? When someone expresses anger, it indicates that they still have feelings and care about the situation. In contrast, indifference signifies that a chapter has been closed. This is a crucial realization, my friends, because it marks a turning point in the dynamics of relationships. This is the moment that often catches people off guard. They anticipate anger, they expect a fiery response or an emotional outburst that demonstrates they still occupy a significant place in your heart. However, when they encounter silence, no reaction, no fury, no explanations, that's when anxiety begins to creep in. You see, while anger keeps the door slightly ajar, indifference slams it shut. To elaborate, anger still maintains a connection, albeit a bitter one. It communicates, I still care enough to engage in this conflict. This leaves space for dialogue, for disagreements, for conversations, and even for chaos. And that's precisely what they are counting on, they will test your limits. Indifference, on the other hand, signals a complete withdrawal of emotional investment, leaving them in a state of uncertainty and confusion. They will prod at your emotional wounds, attempting to provoke a reaction from you. They might send you ambiguous messages, share enigmatic posts on social media, or engage in behavior designed to stir up some kind of response. Their goal is to elicit any reaction, as it gives them a sense of importance and power. When you react emotionally, they feel a sense of control over the situation. However, when you choose to remain silent and respond with a sense of inner peace, it is not a sign of weakness, rather, it is a calculated move. You are asserting your dominance by maintaining such a profound level of composure that your tranquility becomes their source of distress. People are generally equipped to handle confrontations, they know how to deal with anger and have encountered such fiery situations before. But indifference is a different story altogether. It is like walking on emotional black ice, dangerous and unpredictable. When they find themselves slipping on this ice, they come to the realization that you are no longer participating in their game, instead, they are merely engaging with themselves. To illustrate this point, picture them standing in front of a door that is firmly locked. They knock, but there is no response. They shout, yet still, there is silence. They twist the doorknob, but nothing happens. Behind that door, there is no sound, no movement, and no indication of life, just an overwhelming stillness. That silence you experience? It has become your source of strength. This is what causes them to lose their grip. As long as they can hear your voice from the other side, they maintain a sense of control. However, when everything falls silent, they are confronted with the one thing they have spent their entire lives trying to escape, themselves. This is where the essence of Stoicism comes into play. Indifference does not mean pretending to be devoid of feelings. Stoicism does not require you to be emotionally numb. Instead, it encourages you to cultivate such a deep self-awareness and emotional intelligence that you can consciously choose how to respond rather than simply react. You may still experience feelings of sadness. You might find yourself reminiscing about the good times you shared. There may even be moments when you miss them. Yet, despite these feelings, you refrain from reaching out. You do not pursue them. You do not put on a show. This behavior is not indicative of coldness, rather, it reflects a level of mastery over your emotions. As Marcus Aurelius wisely stated, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. In this particular moment, your strength lies in your ability to detach. This detachment is not born out of hatred or a desire for revenge, it stems from the realization that your peace of mind is something you will not compromise. You choose not to expend your energy merely to demonstrate your concern. You opt not to voice your thoughts just to gain the attention of someone who has long ceased to listen. Indeed, they may label you with unflattering terms such as cold, heartless, or immature. But remember, that reaction stems from their ego. It's their way of retaliating because they feel they have lost the grip they once had on your feelings. They might claim that you have changed, but in truth, you have upgraded. You have evolved beyond the version of yourself that felt the need to justify your value to those who were incapable of recognizing it. I understand that this journey is challenging. I recognize that every part of you may urge you to speak out, to defend your position, or to remind them of the sacrifices you made. However, it's crucial to grasp this concept. True peace is not merely the absence of noise, it is the conscious decision to refrain from engaging with it. When you choose not to engage, you become untouchable. This is what they did not anticipate. This is what unsettles them because, deep down, they realize that expressing anger would have been a simpler response. Anger would indicate that the door to your emotions is still ajar. But your indifference signals that you are no longer waiting. You are no longer open to the chaos. You have stepped away from the spotlight, leaving them to perform for an audience that no longer exists. The moment of realization can be more painful than any words you might have uttered. If you find yourself enveloped in silence at this very moment, resist the urge to break it. Avoid sending that message, and refrain from justifying your emotional distance. Allow the quiet to convey your feelings, let the tranquility resonate as a powerful statement. There is nothing more unsettling for someone than the understanding that they can no longer reach the part of you that once cared enough to engage in a debate. I encourage you to express this sentiment in the comments below. My silence is my strength. Say it boldly and with pride. Reveal your true self to both yourself and the world around you. By relinquishing the need to respond, you also release their hold over you. If this message resonates with you, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, as next we will explore why your quiet absence can become the most significant presence in their life, and how the things you left behind will continue to echo in ways they cannot ignore. Stay tuned, we have more to discuss. And remember, your absence is a powerful statement. It's about respect, not retaliation. You didn't just disappear without a word, you gracefully stepped out of the spotlight, leaving them to perform to an empty room. Let this realization resonate within you, dear friends. There's a significant distinction between vanishing to inflict pain and stepping back to nurture your own well-being. Your departure wasn't a game of hide-and-seek or a silent treatment to get even. Instead, you chose to leave because the environment around you was toxic. The cheers had faded, and you recognized that the show wasn't worth the emotional toll. This isn't ghosting, it's gaining clarity. It's a powerful act of self-respect. Now, they're left performing for an audience that has moved on. When you step away from a situation out of strength, rather than spite, you send one of the most impactful messages possible. Silence, in this context, is more than just the absence of noise, it's a force that compels introspection. It creates a void where accountability can take root. As long as you were present, constantly messaging, explaining, defending, and waiting, they never had to confront the reality of their actions. But now that you've distanced yourself, they're not only losing you, they're losing the part of themselves that felt complete only when you were around. You didn't seek closure, you embodied it. This is the aspect that truly affects them the most. Closure is not merely a discussion, it is a definitive choice. It represents that pivotal moment when you come to the realization that no matter how much you try to explain yourself, there will always be someone who is determined to misinterpret your words. It is the instant you cease to hold on to the hope that they will rectify the situation and instead begin the journey of healing and improvement for yourself. This transformation is profound, it embodies a sense of respect and honor for yourself. It is a sacred experience that renders your absence unforgettable. You didn't resort to shouting or pleading, you departed with dignity. Now, your silence resonates more powerfully than their inflated sense of pride can withstand. To illustrate this, picture a performer on stage. They are accustomed to the bright lights, the applause, and the vibrant energy that fills the room. You were always there in the front row, attending every performance without fail. You clapped even when no one else did, and you stayed behind to help clean up after the show. But now, you are no longer present, the seats are vacant, the spotlight remains on, and suddenly, their most impressive performance feels empty because the audience that truly mattered is no longer there to witness it. This is the moment when the cracks in their facade begin to appear. It is at this point that their social media posts start to reflect a sense of desperation. The laughter grows louder, and the number of staged glow-up photos rises as your absence leaves a noticeable gap. Rather than confronting this emptiness, they attempt to fill it with likes, distractions, and new acquaintances who are unaware of their usual behaviors, unlike you. However, all of this is merely superficial noise because what they truly seek is not just any form of validation, but specifically your validation. When you are no longer present, they begin to doubt everything they once felt so confident about. I understand what you might be experiencing. You may find yourself questioning whether they even miss you, if they are genuinely happier without you, or if you were simply easy to forget. These thoughts are the remnants of past emotional wounds. But let me reassure you, if you were truly forgettable, they wouldn't feel the need to put on such a show. If they had genuinely replaced you, they wouldn't be so desperately trying to project an image of happiness. Those who have truly moved on do not need to showcase their lives. The ones who are at peace do not feel the need to perform. What you are witnessing is not tranquility, it is a state of panic. They are coming to the realization, perhaps too late, that losing you has not only altered the dynamics of their relationship but has also disrupted their entire way of life. As Marcus Aurelius wisely stated, waste no more time arguing what a good person should be. You've become the benchmark. You stopped arguing and convinced yourself to stand tall. Now, when others look at new connections, they measure them against the person who once made a mark, someone who never needed to shine. This shift in focus doesn't just happen, it's a revelation. Your silence isn't a rule, it's a choice. It's not coldness or absence. It's a deep respect for your own heart and the truth that you don't have to be here to still matter. You don't have to explain why you left. You walked away without breaking the connection, but now they see you as the only person who ever crossed that bridge with love. Say it now. My absence is sacred. Share it. Feel it. Embrace it. Because you didn't vanish to be trivial. You vanished to safeguard your tranquility. And now, they finally recognize what they lost. Not merely a person, but the essence that made everything feel complete. Press that like button. If your quietude has transformed into your power, click subscribe because we're about to explore how being unforgettable isn't about being boisterous. It's about being irreplaceable. We're not finished yet, my friends. Stick with me. Let's keep climbing. Number 7, the silent comparison. Why every new connection is gauged against you. You set the standard and everything else now feels like a replacement. That's the reality, my friends. They didn't forget you. They compare everyone else to you. You're not some forgotten memory. You're the standard. Their subconscious quietly compares every new face to see. Deep love leaves an enduring mark. It's not simply a matter of moving on, it's about attempting to recreate that profound emotional resonance. The person you loved profoundly reshaped their emotional landscape. Your unique ability to listen empathetically, to understand unspoken needs, this created a deep connection that becomes a subconscious pattern, a yearning they unconsciously seek in future relationships. However, a crucial point to remember is that new doesn't automatically equate to better. New relationships are simply different. And often, they lack the depth, the understanding, the genuine connection of the previous one. This is where the absence of your presence becomes profoundly significant. Your silence speaks volumes. They may come to realize you weren't just a significant person in their life, you were the one who truly understood and resonated with them on a fundamental level. So, let your voice be heard. In the comments below, declare, I am the standard. Say it with pride, with conviction. Show yourself, show the world who you are. Stay tuned, because next we'll explore how emotional detachment is not about physical distance, but rather a form of control. This concludes point 8. True freedom represents a significant transformation. When you detach yourself from a situation, it reveals how dependent others may be on you. They may believe they have moved on, but in reality, they are merely shifting their circumstances without genuine progress. This distinction is crucial, my friends. They are not truly evolving, instead, they are caught in a cycle of emotional repetition, masquerading as personal growth. In contrast, you have chosen to detach. You didn't simply exit a situation, you broke free from a recurring pattern. You opted for clarity instead of chaos, and peace rather than familiar turmoil. That is the essence of a true transformation. It's not about finding a new partner, putting on a false smile, or jumping into a rebound relationship. It's about achieving freedom. When you genuinely detach, you don't just leave, you elevate yourself. You become invulnerable. Your indifference can become unsettling for others, not because you are unfeeling, but because your tranquility compels them to confront their own emotional turmoil. Your silence acts as a reflective surface, revealing the truths they have been avoiding. They have not truly grown. Instead of confronting the parts of themselves they refuse to change or improve, they simply brought someone else into the picture. This was a tactic to divert attention, both theirs and perhaps others, away from their own stagnant state and unresolved issues. While you successfully exited that situation and found your liberation, they remain trapped within their repetitive patterns and cycles. Now, from their perspective, they are observing your progress. You are thriving, radiating confidence and peace, undisturbed, moving at your own pace, and no longer bound by the ties that held you back. Meanwhile, they are still caught in the very same destructive loop, the one that ultimately led to the loss of your presence in their life. And this brings us right back to the core message, my dear readers and listeners. If you've followed along this far, you've likely already grasped a fundamental truth: the act of releasing your grip on something or someone isn't a sign of weakness or giving up. On the contrary, it demonstrates profound wisdom, the insight to know when a situation is no longer serving you and the strength to choose a better path. Your decision to remain silent, to not engage or retaliate, isn't about seeking vengeance or trying to make them suffer. It's a powerful revelation, a clear statement about your own healing, your boundaries, and your refusal to be pulled back into the drama. It reveals your inner strength and self-respect. You didn't choose to depart from that situation with the hope or intention of being missed or longed for. Your primary motivation for stepping away was purely for your own freedom, to break free from constraints and live authentically. Therefore, continue on your upward trajectory. Keep making the conscious choice to prioritize your inner peace and well-being over constantly needing to perform or meet external expectations. Opt for clarity and understanding in your life instead of getting lost in confusion and chaos. To clarify, choosing peace over performance means valuing your inner calm and authenticity more than seeking external validation or constantly feeling the need to prove yourself. Similarly, opting for clarity over chaos means actively seeking understanding and order in your thoughts and circumstances, rather than allowing confusion and turmoil to dominate. If these words resonate deeply with you, if they strike a chord in your heart, please don't keep this realization to yourself. Consider sharing this message with someone else you know who might genuinely benefit from hearing this important reminder. Show your support by hitting that like button, make sure you're subscribed to stay connected, and feel free to share your personal favorite affirmation in the comments section below. Allow your continued growth and positive transformation to be evident, even from a distance, even without your direct presence in their lives. We are only just beginning this journey of empowerment and self-discovery. Stick around and continue this path with me.